what can happen in brain fog, or one of the mechanisms, is leaky gut leads to systemic inflammation, and it leads to inflammation in the brain, where specifically, but not limited to, these cells in the brain, immune cells known as microglia, are overactivated. Now, I just want to be careful to say, as someone who had food reactive brain fog due to my gut being a mess many years ago, this is very, very able to be remedied. Disruption of microbial homeostasis. Another way of saying that could be dysbiosis or overgrowth, as in SIBO. In addition to this, inflammation, as we also covered a moment ago, C-reactive protein, TNF-alpha, interleukin-6, amongst a handful of inflammatory cytokines that can be causal to leaky gut. And leaky gut and inflammation are kind of a bidirectional entanglement. Gastrointestinal conditions, probably not surprising, but IBS, IBD, celiac, GERD, really any GI symptom throws up a flag that there could be leaky gut present. Additionally, probably not obvious, but worth just touching on, a Western diet, a high level of alcohol consumption. I'm not going to make the claim that any alcohol is going to be problematic. I think we can probably have a reasonable intake of even Western food, processed food, as long as it's not excessive. But too much bad food, too much alcohol, poor sleep, and chronic stress, all these factors start eroding at the health of this crucially important small intestinal membrane. Certain medications, antibiotics, NSAID, and anti-inflammatories, also chronic use of decongestants, as we've covered on the podcast in the past, and then chronic disease and aging, all can aggregate, coalesce to start weakening this barrier and leading to setting the stage for leaky gut. Okay, and we should also just echo the prevalence, because there are some conditions that sound scary, yet may only impact 0.3% of the population. And it's not to take anything away from those, but if we understand prevalence, then we understand risk. Again, in those with symptoms, 25 to 88% of individuals have leaky gut, whereas only about 6% of healthy controls demonstrate leaky gut. So there's certainly a highly increased likelihood, if you have symptoms, a condition, or a disease state, that you could have leaky gut as a component underlying that. And by the way, if this has been helpful, please comment and subscribe. This really does help us reach more people who are trying to improve their health, so it is quite deeply appreciated. Regarding the symptoms, it's helpful to zoom out and think of these in two buckets. One, the obvious digestive symptoms. Two would be more so systemic or inflammatory. So let's start with the digestive symptoms. Gas, abdominal pain, and bloating as one sort of cluster that often occurs together. And just quoting from a 2023 study, leaky gut syndrome and intestinal barrier dysfunction are associated with intestinal diseases such as inflammatory bowel disease and irritable bowel syndrome. So either IBS or IBD encapsulate altered bowels, constipation, diarrhea, abdominal pain, gas, bloating, discomfort. A good study showing us a correlation between all of these symptoms and leaky gut. And what tends to happen in situations like this is there's this sort of web, this interconnected web, where when there's leaky gut, there's inflammation. Inflammation is unhospitable to healthy bacteria. And then you have the formation of imbalances in the bacteria, whether that be dysbiosis or bacterial overgrowth. When this occurs, you can have excessive fermentation. So skews in the bacteria can lead to the bacteria over-fermenting food. That causes increased gas, increased pressure and pain, but also the inflammation that accompanies all of this makes someone more sensitive to gas and pressure. So within that, we mentioned briefly constipation and diarrhea. So this would be another one. It has been demonstrated that the inflammation occurring in leaky gut can alter your motility. In fact, a study found that there was increased zonulin, so a marker of leaky gut, in those with either IBS constipative type or IBS diarrheal type. So IBS, this abdominal discomfort, gas, and pain, can also occur with constipation or with diarrhea. So it can be labeled as IBS constipative, IBS diarrheal. Both of these were found to correlate with elevated levels of serum zonulin. Along with this, indigestion. This is more so kind of in the upper GI. You eat a meal, you feel prolonged fullness, maybe some reflux, warmth, GERD. And it has also been shown in models of indigestion that these patients have higher levels of small intestinal permeability or leaky gut. So probably not surprising that a number of digestive conditions correlate with leaky gut. This is a really easy one to sort of spot. If you have gut symptoms, you likely have leaky gut. 70% of your immune system actually resides in your small intestine. And because of that, because the immune system polices with inflammation, this is where we start seeing the systemic or broader effects of a leaky gut. So the first would take us all the way up to the brain. And there has been some pretty elegant research looking at the correlation between leaky gut, systemic inflammation, and what's known as sickness behavior. This is where you feel tired and kind of depressed. If you've had the cold or a flu, that feeling of, I just need to hang out on the couch. I can't think, I don't want to think, I just want to sort of lay around. Well, this sickness behavior when you have a cold is normal. You can also have this, however, when you don't have a cold per se, but you're still having some of the inflammation and immune reactivity due to what's going on in the gut. And this enters a 2022 meta-analysis summarizing 19 studies. And they found that patients with depression had higher levels of zonulin and of LPS. So zonulin is the protein telling you about the gate, so to speak, and LPS is the measurement of particles actually passing through. Important to bear this in mind that some mental health may be a derivative of what's going on in the gut. Now, with this sort of sickness behavior, I mentioned fatigue, and other studies have looked more directly at fatigue. A 2016 study in those with chronic fatigue did find that individuals had higher levels of, again, LPS, marker of leakage, and dysbiosis, an imbalance in the bacteria, than did their healthy controls. So probably not surprising. We're seeing with fatigue and with depression, there's something going on in the gut, namely leaky gut, and this is leading to inflammation, and this inflammation can have a systemic effect. This is a good sort of springboard into another one of the symptoms that tends to accompany this cluster of fatigue and depression, which is also brain fog. So brain fog is, I have a hard time thinking, I have a poor memory, I have a poor recall, I have poor mental endurance. What can happen in brain fog, or one of the mechanisms, is leaky gut, leads to systemic inflammation, and it leads to inflammation in the brain, where specifically, but not limited to, these cells in the brain, immune cells known as microglia, are overactivated. And this is another case where we have some pretty good research. And just a quote here from a 2020 study, we observe a significant increase in serum zonulin levels in MCI, mild cognitive impairment, and Alzheimer's disease, suggesting that the disruption of intestinal barrier function is a contributing factor to the deterioration of cognitive function. Now, I just want to be careful to say, as someone who had food reactive brain fog due to my gut being a mess many years ago, this is very, very able to be remedied. I want to keep sort of hitting that point that all of this should be used constructively and in an empowering fashion, because there's so much that you can do to improve your gut health. One study found that in those with leaky gut, it was associated with impaired cognitive function. And they even followed these people for 12 years. And so it was a pretty compelling time interval in which this was assessed. Other research finding a correlation between IBS, so abdominal pain, discomfort, gas, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, correlated with impaired memory, attention, and recall. A different study found that 68% of people with SIBO had brain fog. And yet another study found that those with non-celiac gluten sensitivity also reported brain fog. People may experience joint pain. And there's, again, some pretty good data here showing a correlation between higher levels of zonulin and rheumatoid arthritis. Again, if you're having joint pain, you may even have noticed certain foods perhaps trigger your joint pain. So this would be very demonstrative of there being leaky gut present. One study here from, gosh, at this point, maybe 7 years ago, that really sort of opened my eyes to this was looking at rheumatoid arthritis patients. So rheumatoid arthritis is a inflammatory autoimmune condition that causes joint pain. And they took a group of people with this chronic joint pain. Half of them were given a corticosteroid, and the other half were given an elemental diet. And they found equivalent results with a steroid, an anti-inflammatory steroid, as compared to an elemental diet. Elemental diets are meal replacements that are formulated to be very, very gut friendly and easy to absorb. And so what they demonstrated in this study was you can have an equivalent result as this immunosuppressive steroid with an elemental diet because it unburdens the gut from this reactivity. So just, tying all these things together and hopefully portraying that there's a lot that you can do to resolve leaky gut and improve your symptoms. When the gut is leaky, meaning it's overly porous, you can have translocation of various particles from the gut into your circulation, into the bloodstream, and this activates the immune system. So dysbiosis, essentially through this domino rally, leads to an imbalance in the immune system. There's a very interesting paper from the journal Frontiers in Immunology that gives a nice schematic or a kind of flow of how this domino cascade effect works. What you're looking at here all the way over to the left, the start of the flow, is symbiosis, sometimes also described as eubiosis, meaning things are healthy. The ecosystem is healthy. The ratios of bacteria are as they should be. The immune system is calm. And essentially the garden or the rainforest that is this dense ecosystem is one of health and balance, or eubiosis. From there, we can start tipping into dysbiosis, meaning imbalanced. And one of the first things that occurs in this situation is the release of cytokines, or inflammatory signaling molecules that the immune system uses to communicate. And as part of this, other immune cells like macrophages and dendritic cells are recruited into the immune response. Now, what's interesting in particular about dendritic cells, they're also known as presenting cells. They take parts of antigens, or they take parts of food particles or tissues of your body, and they present them to the immune cells. It's kind of this, hey, look, look, immune cell, or look, police officer, is this a nefarious character? And this leads into the leaky gut, the end of the schematic here from the Frontiers journal, where we can come down to a few of the core mechanisms underlying autoimmunity, one of which can be molecular mimicry. This is where the immune system, when presented one of these potential culprits or bad guys from these presenter cells, attacks it when it shouldn't. And this is where you can see something like certain dietary triggers can lead people to have joint pain or brain fog within 30 minutes or sometimes the next day. This is the end result of this entire cascade where the wrong thing is being attacked by the immune system. Now, similar to this, there's the bystander effect. This is where in a warring situation, let's say, there's a shootout with the police, an innocent bystander may get shot by the inflammation or by the immune attack of the immune system as the immune system is trying to clean up a certain mess or pathogen or attack an antigen. And this leads to the end result of autoimmunity. As someone who has had poor sleep myself, I wanted to make sure to touch on poor sleep. Now, we don't have research looking directly at measurements of leaky gut and poor sleep, but we do have research looking at IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. And we already discussed the correlation between IBS and leaky gut. So the data here are showing correlations between IBS and poor sleep or insomnia. In fact, a meta-analysis of 36 trials did find that 38% of those with IBS have problems with sleep. Certainly something to think about. Now, there's other obvious things not to overlook regarding your sleep. Your pre-bed routine, aka sleep hygiene, and also timing of caffeine, making sure you're not consuming caffeine too late in the day, just to name two, but two fairly important factors for sleep. There's a lot that you can do for your leaky gut. So please use this information and interpret this information as empowering. Take stock of your symptoms and use that as an indicator for whether or not you should make some changes to improve your gut health and then hopefully resolve many of these symptoms. Okay, this is Dr. Ruscio. I hope this helps, and I'll talk to you next time.